What you do for yourself depends on what you think of yourself. What you think of yourself depends on what you know of yourself. And what you know of yourself depends on what you've been told of yourself. Welcome. You listen to 360 Info. I'm your host, Antonio. And it's a little cloudy in Cleveland, but we're here and we got a great show for you today. Got my co-host, Brother Vince. How you doing over there?
I'm doing great. And you know, I'm seeing the clouds just like you are. I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of Chadwick Boseman. I just found out about that this morning. Colon cancer did him in, and there are quite a few other things that are going on this week in American history. So perhaps we'll talk about them at a later time. But we are very excited to have the guest on that we have this morning. So if we don't have anything else, I'd like to introduce him.
Get right into it, Okay.
Yes, indeed. Master Teacher Mfundishi Jhutyms has mastered over 5 languages and is an expert in reading, writing, and translating the ancient language of the Nile Valley Afrikans, commonly called Hieroglyphics. The language called by the ancients themselves is Mdw Ntchr. As a master in the ancient form of martial arts, Master Teacher Mfundishi Jhutyms also pulls from the great literature and illustrations of Kemet, mastery of morality, meditation, martial arts, and crystal healing sciences. Kemet, which is the indigenous name for Egypt, is called by the Nile Valley Ancients, is what is referred to as Classical Afrikan Civilization. Mfundishi Jhutyms has mastered several aspects of this high culture through the mastery of the language. He teaches the Mdw Ntchr with a special relationship to the spirituality and healing powers of the culture. He's the author of the books Spiritual Warriors Are Healers and Mdw Ntchr, Spirit of the Medjay. And he's been a student of great African scholars, Joseph Ben Yochanan, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Chancellor Williams, Dr. Jake Carruthers, and others. Welcome to 360 Info Network, Mfundishi Jhutyms Kain Heru Salim. My brother, welcome to 360 Info Network.
Mdw Ntchr, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to share with the people.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Yeah, so again, your discipline is just, profound, and it's always a pleasure to have someone that can, really break down the information that we tend to get over here is through our documentaries that you see on Discovery Channel and things like that. They, have kind of like one version of, the writings of what Egypt or what Kemet or what the whole Giza Plateau was all about. And the great thing about the Hapi film that you were in that we want to mention to our listeners, definitely to tune in and see your piece and your work that you have done in the film as well, is having that connection across the continent spiritually with the language and I pose to I believe Brother Taki was that we tend not to know, or they tend not to tell us, what that connection is with the West Coast. And it seems like you guys, pardon?
No, I just say you're definitely correct, yes.
Right, yes. And and they have us mystified, it seems like all the time, by who are the ancient Egyptians? Where did they go? And obviously, you guys ain't doing too much research. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Surely. First, we have to understand Egyptology is a creation by white supremacy. The Vatican created Egyptology so that they can control the information that's coming out of Africa. They needed to, Egyptology was created during the height of the enslavement of African people. So they already had a divide and conquer methodology already in place. And now, with this new information, this new insurgence, that almost all civilization that we know it in the modern world comes from the Nile Valley, they had to be able to make sure that the masses of the people of the world knew that that information was white, and that white people controlled that. They came into Africa and discovered stuff they didn't discover in Europe or Asia. They built civilization in Africa that they didn't build in Europe and that from there, then they went back to Europe and civilized the world. So they had to try to do. There's no Germatology. There's no Chinatology. There's no Englishology. There's no American. But there's an Egyptology. It was important to control this information and whitewash it in the midst of the enslavement of African people. And so I needed to start right there. And it hasn't stopped. Hollywood, the European Jews, the whole persona has perpetuated this. I mean, even today, 2019, they're still putting out films where all the pharaohs are white and all the black folks are slaves. And you're in Africa. So I needed to clear the air there. That Egyptology was and it's a club. It's a club. It has nothing to do with the truth. And even though archaeologists and anthropologists put out new information every year, the Egyptologists ignore it. The pyramids were built in the 4th dynasty. Haru Emaketi was built by Khufu's grandson. No, these buildings are thousands of years old. And people in West Africa, people in Central Africa, and people in South Africa are all the same people who were in ancient Kemet.
Yes.
So we need to make that clear. I have a student who speaks Hausa, and every day he's telling me his Hausa language is the same as the Mdw Ntchr. And he's in Niger, students in Mali, students in the Sudan, I speak Swahili in the Eastern Coast. Most of the things that we say is still the same in Mdw Ntchr.
Wow.
And so it's the whole divide and conquer. They want West Africans to think that Egypt has nothing to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at Ifa, we can see the foundation of Ifa in Nigeria still is a remnant of ancient Kemet. Dogon in Mali, an extension of ancient Kemet. The Congo, an extension of Kemet. And some of the earliest paraphernalia of ancient Kemet can be found in South Africa. The oldest example of Haru or Ra.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, it's a game that they're playing of divide and conquer. But we're moving into the age of Aquarius. This is the age of information.
For sure.
And we now don't have to take their translation. We can read it ourselves.
I got to get this in here. Something that me and my brother always talk about when you see those clips and they talk about Egypt, and they definitely give us these films that demonizes Egypt in a certain kind of way. They never talk about the spirituality. They never talk about Ma'at. You hear? Because this is going out to our religious leaders, because they tend to separate us and never say too much in our spiritual temples over here and demonize it and say they was this and that. But if you understood Ma'at, and then you would be able to draw and connect the dots between the two spiritualities and where it come from. But they never on TV talk about and that common thread, like you just said, through the whole continent, or the same type of mindset and connecting the spirituality dots.
So let's make it clear, my brother. Ma'at is truth, justice, righteous, harmonious balance, reciprocity, right order, right thinking, right? So if you're stealing, looting, and robbing, there's no room for Ma'at. So they stole everything but Ma'at. They threw that back. Y'all can keep that. We're taking everything else. So we have to be real clear with that. How you can't steal Ma'at. So they left that alone. They didn't even want to talk about that. Okay, so here we are, is that the foundation of all the religions is using Ma'at, but we don't want to tell you the origins from where it came from. So, we have to really be clear. We weren't a religious people. We were a spiritual people that was connected to nature and the universe. And the Europeans reversed all that. Dr. Clark used to tell us, they laughed at our gods and we changed them. They laughed at our names and we changed them.
They laughed at our clothes, and we changed it. They laughed at our culture, and we changed it. So now the laughing is over, brother. It's time for us to go back to the root. When we say Sankofa, go back and fetch what you have lost of value and bring it forward to the future. And that's what is scaring Europeans right now, because that's what we're doing. And we're starting to put all these pieces back together. No division between East Africa and West Africa, North Africa and South Africa. The real division lies in the religious institutions that have been placed on the continent.
Yes.
So all of North Africa is Islamic. Islam is anti-African culture. All Central and Southern Africa is Christian. It's anti-African culture. And so here we are on the continent, anti-ourselves. So that, you see, we're in a catch-22. Yes. So we gotta talk about. We have to sever ourselves from the religions that were shoved down our throat. And I don't think there's a debate that Islam was shoved down Africa's throat in all of North of Africa. There's no debate that Christianity came into Africa and it was shoved down our throat. Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya said, when the Europeans came, we had the land and they had the Bible. We prayed, when we opened up our eyes, we had the Bible and they had the land.
Yeah.
And brother, that's been continuous every place they go.
It's 11:16 right here on AM 1490 WERE. You're listening to 360 Info Network, and our guest is Mfundishi Jhutyms in Heru Salim. We'll be back with more 360 Info right after this. We're back on 360 Info Network with our guest, Mfundishi Jhutyms, and we are talking about African spirituality and religion. Before we took the break, I'd like to ask a question that's kind of related to that, and that is the African concept of what Europeans call God. We talked about virtually the elimination of the feminine divine from the equation, but I just want you to talk about the importance of the feminine divine in our perception of that which we refer to as God.
Yes, you see, even, first of all, the concept. Let me just say something that will probably your audience will be a little surprised about. First of all, there's this word called Ntchr. Like the word nature comes from that. Ntchr means the divinity, the divine, that which is all. It is a consciousness. We look at the Creator as this consciousness. And this consciousness had many manifestations. So when we talk about, for example, the Ntchr of the earth was called Geb. So the earth was a masculine energy. And Nut, which is the livable atmosphere, was the feminine principle. And without the feminine principle, there is no life on this masculine principle earth. Everybody you know probably says Mother Earth and Father is in heaven. So the Europeans took it and reversed it because they couldn't stand the woman to be God in heaven. So they put her down on the earth and then put this white Moses-looking God up in the sky. So even that concept, you can see they have twisted us around. You often hear me say that we are upside down, inside out, and backwards because we have somebody else's paradigm. So if you're using somebody else's paradigm from a religious perspective, you're going to be upside down, inside out, and backwards. So we come from a matrilineal system where the royalty is passed through the woman. And so the woman is held in high esteem. The great mother is kind of like the leader. She allows the male energy, which we call the king, to rule on her behalf, but he's his greatest consultant. And so we have to be there. So from when we look at ancient Kemet, it was the mother, the father, and the child. Mm-hmm. No Holy Ghost. No, yeah. The mother, the father, and the child. Okay, and I didn't say the male child. I said the child. Okay, that's the Trinity that has to be perpetuated. So the woman is always held in high esteem. And so, even in West Africa, we have the Queen Mother. Even in African American families, you got Big Mama. we always have this image. It's the Europeans and Asiatics who have a problem with the female energy.
Right.
And so the Asians dominate the female. The Eurasians, Western Asians, the Europeans dominate the female. Might is right. With us, it's intelligence and spirituality and connection to nature. So our Ntchr, or God is just a European concept, dog spelled backwards, has nothing to do with us. They superimpose that on us. And then they said we had many gods. So now if you've been introduced to Islam, Christianity, Judaism, they talk about there's only one God. We understood that one God concept, but we have many manifestations. Let me give you another example. Let me break it down real simple. I'm a black man in America. I'm a professor. So I put my professor hat on. I'm a grandmaster in the martial arts. So I put my grandmaster outfit on to teach, right? I'm a crystallologist. So I'm in front of my booth selling crystals and gemstones, giving people suggestions on how this energy can help them. Okay. I'm a storyteller for the children. So I'm teaching them our history through folklore. Now, I'm one person, and I'm doing 4 or 5, and that's just the beginning. So if the Creator is all wise, it can have many, many hats and many, many manifestations. But somebody has tricked us that there's only this white fairy tale God in the sky that exists.
Right.
And we, for some reason, have bought that. You see, so we understood that there was a Ntchr of the sky, there was a Ntchr of the earth, there was the elements, there's a Ntchr of water, Ntchr of fire. We understood all of these concepts because we were in tune with nature. And so we were always trying to be one with nature. If you understand the culture of Europeans and Asiatics, they're at war with nature.
Ooh, there it is.
They want to conquer nature. And that's why they have a God complex now. All the gene splicing and everything, they're trying to play God. Artificial intelligence, they're trying to play God. They have no intention do they want to be one with nature. They're cutting down the very rainforest that we need to breathe air. They're polluting the water that we need to drink. They're messing up the air that we need to breathe. And it's all in the name of making money. Money is their God.
Absolutely.
Or the concept of control of people. Yes.
Brother Mfundishi,
yes, sir.
That philosophy, that spirituality, would you say it permeates that little thought process with nature and things like that, permeate throughout the whole continent by your studies? The same type of philosophy?
That similar philosophy is throughout the whole continent of Africa. They might have different names for it, might have a different image for it, because you have to understand, if you're in the rainforest, you're going to use images that's relevant to the rainforest. If you're in the savannah, you use images that's relevant to the savannah. If you're in the desert, you use images that's relevant to the desert. You see, so we were always in tune with nature. And that was extremely important. You hear me? Let me just say this concept. When we are studying the divinity, we say we are divine spiritual beings having a divine human experience. And most of the time we leave the word divine out. Because we've been tricked into thinking we're not divine. We're not Ntchr-like. We're not God-like. We are the original people that populated the whole planet. Everybody's related to us. I know some of us don't want to lay claim to them, but we are the master parents. We're the master parents. Okay, so now listen to this. When they talk about science, science is spirituality that can be seen, felt, touched, and measured, and you see its end results.
Right.
Spirituality is science that cannot be seen, felt, touched, or measured, but you can still see its end results.
I got you.
But you can't control that. You can control the science because you can distort the information. Africans went into the spirituality and the science. Some of us took our spirituality, gave us religion, and then gave us their version of the science, which is not connected to the divinity of nature. So you create stuff that destroys nature.
That's right. Yeah.
Instead of creating things that aid.
And this is an interesting one. Kind of going back a little bit, you had me thinking about when I seen one of Brother Kwesi's tapes when they talked about how they destroyed the female concept, even in goddess figurines, that they used over there. And could you tell us the effects that had by getting rid of the female concept of things and that divinity part, that when the Europeans came down and seeing us giving homage to that female, how has that affected us today?
Well, naturally it affects us on a tremendous. I mean, we're still traumatized by this whole experience. So, and we've never had therapy, brother. If you get in a car accident, you got to have therapy before you go back to work. Well, we had 400 years of enslavement by the Europeans, 1,600 years of enslavement almost by the Arabs, and we haven't got any therapy. So
that's right.
We're born with some trauma in our DNA. You have to understand that. I also, when you look at, I'm still going to answer your question. I just want to make sure you get this background. Mm-hmm. When Africans in America, if you look at just sports, if you look at the sprints, for example, first of all running events in the Olympics, every record is held by a person of African descent. So I wanted to make that clear. If you look at the long distance, it's the East Africans. If you look at the sprints, it's Africans from the diaspora, like Jamaica in America, Trinidad, places like that. And the reason why is because the trauma that we have is unique to us, that some of the Africans on the continent did not experience. So we adapted to it, allowing us to have a quicker reflex. And so you see, we dominate, though. We're all Africans, and we all are fast. But the Africans in America and the Africans in the diaspora here seem to have an edge on some of the Africans on the continent. So that's from the trauma and the psychological development that we created as a result of being in this enslaved situation. Okay, so now that we understand that, now we can begin to see what are some of the differences and how we can begin to heal and fix the situation. Now, your specific question, state your specific question again.
about the the female taking her out of the picture.
Okay, the female, right? Okay,
that throws us off with it.
Okay, so now here we are. I did a lecture in Atlanta, I think 2 years ago, and I'm on Morehouse campus, which is all male. It's a black college, all black males, and the sign on the lecture hall says, "No high heels and no dresses." I'm like, what? Why you gotta sound like this on an all black man? And then the guy said, "Oh, you don't know? 81% of all black males is gay, homosexual, or have had those type of experiences." I said, 81%? Are you kidding me? That's extremely unnatural. So here we are now. We need to the black male is a dominant figure and is feared by all other people on the planet. We are the ultimate warriors. You have to really acknowledge that. And the heavyweight champions coming out of Japan, coming out of China, and white boys coming out of Europe. So no matter what we do, we dominate. So their women of all races want us. We're their first selection. So we got to make you look really bad. We got to make you look like a thug. We got to make you look dumb. We got to make you look like a drug addict. And if you are not any of those, we need to paint you in a white persona. So we got to put you in a real suit, acting like a white boy. Because that black image is too powerful, it's too strong. It threatens all of them. Why do you think when they hung the black man, they had to rip his penis out, his testicles? What has that got to do with you killing him? We're sending a symbol. So now the female, who is the progenitor of this black male, we got to really suppress and control her. And so right now, I think the most positive black image of black women is being created here in America. And we still know how crazy we are. Let's be real. We know we got more weaves, more perms than anybody on the planet. But still, in the midst of that, you will see more locks, more afros, more braids, more sisters with natural hairstyles. And so that image is also being projected. So even in Africa now, they're beginning to be proud of their African hair. People in the diaspora are beginning to be proud of their African hair. But the idea is that, you can control the female energy. In the corporate world, she might get pregnant, we can move her out. But the black male is too powerful, too strong. So we want to play the woman against the male. And that's that old Willie Lynch divide and conquer thing. And we have not overcome this. You see, an intelligent person looks and sees how they're being conquered or manipulated. And then you reverse that. Once you know what the formula is putting you in a backward situation, then you correct it. So where's our black think tanks that's doing that? When a black person get all A's in school, the white universities scoop them up. They get a scholarship to all the Ivy League schools.
Absolutely.
So what happens is that they get their best and they get our best. And then the real bright ones, the multi-corporations, put a big salary in front of them, $500,000 a year, and they're never coming back to the hood after that. So you see, we have not taken control of our educational institution. They get us in preschool. What? They just took the test in 2019. The same test, the white doll test, the doll test that they did in Plessy versus the Board of Education in 1950. And 2019, the little black children said, the white doll is the pretty doll.
Mm-hmm.
The white doll is the good doll.
Mm-hmm.
The ugly doll is the black doll. Bad hair is kinky nappy hair. And this is what really gets it. What doll do you want to be like? The white doll? This is 2019. Now we're in 2020. This is because what do they say? Whoever controls the minds of our children controls our future. Yeah. So why isn't Black Lives Matter protesting our educational system?
Good point. Good point. Mm-hmm.
Okay, why I'm here in Harlem, New York, we got more Europeans marching than black people. And Black Lives Matter. So the agenda has been compromised.
Yes.
Mm. And all we got to do is look at history. Every time it's compromised, we get the short end of the stick. And we don't see it. We don't see the writing on the wall. Now, I want people to understand, Mfundishi is not anti-white. Some of my friends have friends who have white friends. And I don't have a problem with him.
Yeah, absolutely. That takes me back to, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Once you control a man's mind, you ain't got to worry about his actions. That's the warfare. The battle is done already, But how do we recapture that, Brother Mfundishi? What we need, because I refer back to, I don't know if you know my brother here in Cleveland who wrote the book Ancient Future, Wayne B. Chandler. And I refer right back to that title. I think
powerful brother, yes.
Forward. I think that title kind of speaks for itself. That we're gonna have to reach back because I always used to say, hey, we don't try everything but our ancestors. Our ancestors said, "We gonna try me. We gonna try me."
They're waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting for us to try them.
The system got us fooled. Yes. Well, ancestors, you better not be worshiping ancestors. But y'all say an angel all day long, angels, but then frown up when somebody say ancestors. Crazy.
Yes. So, brother, they have to assassinate the male character. They have to divide the male from the female and have us versus us. This is in their agenda to raise homosexuality, sexual confusion, gay, lesbianism, all of this feeds into white male domination and the dissemination and the destruction of the black family. Now, I want to say something that's not going to be popular. The last 30, 40 years of sexual confusion has destroyed the black family more than 400 years of slavery. At the end of slavery, we still had black male and female wanting to bond with each other. In the Jim Crow era, when we had foot all up our butt, the black male and female were still together. Going into the 1950s, was separate but equal was starting. The black family was still together. At the beginning of the civil rights struggle in the 60s, the black family was still together. And then came the 70s with the drugs, sexual promiscuity, homosexuality, lesbianism, gayism, transvestite, all of that came in, which comes from Europe. Comes from Eurasia. This was the Greeks and the Romans. This was normal.
Yep. Yes.
Pedophilia was a law, a criminal law. Now they're saying it's not criminal, it's choice. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
You know how much money the church pays each year? They got a slush fund with millions of dollars in it because they know they're getting ready to mess up some little boys. So we're just ready to pay for it because we're not changed. And we've accepted that now. So pedophilia is now legal. If you were gay, and male gay, in the 1960s and earlier, that was considered, you had something was wrong with you. Mm-hmm. You were certified that, you needed some help. You needed therapy. Now it's normal. In fact, if you're not gay, they want to give you therapy.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, they're actually in the school system. They've implemented sex education, so that even if you didn't know about it, they were introducing it to you in the third grade and stuff like that, suggesting that this might be a good thing for you. So if we don't take control of our educational system, and that's where it starts, we have to bring the male and the female back together. We got to understand that the Holy Trinity is male, female, and child. Mm-hmm. And that the family unit is the strongest unit in the nation. Mm-hmm. Once we begin to understand that, now we take control of our educational system. We take control of employing ourselves. Brother, in the year 800, I'm just go back. In 1820, that's 200 years ago, we employed less than 3% of our people. In 2020, we employ less than 3% of our people. Now, people, they look me up. I want them. This is one of the richest nations in the world, and black people here who represent close to 20%. They've been telling us 12 and 15 for a long time, and I don't believe that no more. We're at least around 20% plus. And we still represent only 3% of the nation's wealth. More money goes through our hands, that we would make us the richest, one of the top 10 richest nations in the world. That's Africans just in America. But we give that money back as fast as we can because no one taught us about economics. So that's why I give the plug Hapi, the Hapi film.
Good.
The Hapi film is reintroducing us of why we created a wealth economy and how it was dispersed among many people, and that it wasn't broken into classes like in some of the Western worlds. And your wealth was built around your culture. Right now, our wealth is built around somebody else's culture.
That's right. That's right.
So that's very dangerous, brother. Mm-hmm. Well, so you can see the root. And who's teaching us this? I don't care if you got a PhD. Do you know how about economics? No. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, my brother. I'm ready for your next question.
Yeah, no problem. I said, we got to applaud Brother LeGrant for and all you guys for contributing and putting that film. While we got a second, we want to plug that in to our listeners out and make sure they go to, I think it's happyfilms.com, I believe, and get the film. Is there another showing? Anything coming up soon?
There's a showing tonight. Tonight, and I'm going to be on the panel after the showing to discuss, the benefit and of the film and how it can help us in our life.
It's 11:45 right here on AM 1490 WERE. You're listening to 360 Info Network, and our guest is Mfundishi Jhutyms. We'll be back with more 360 Info right after this.
All right, very good. Yeah. We probably V. Did you have anything, or you want to go into the film? We want to, make sure we get a couple minutes, and either sending them to the
40 seconds
website to purchase the film or watch it tonight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, Vince?
Yeah,
Okay.
I hear you.
Okay. I mean, let you ask something. You got something else you want to put in real quick, Vince?
Actually, I wanted to ask him about Dr. Barishide's concept of the curse that came about during the time of Imhotep.
Okay. We'll have about a couple minutes
10
on that.
seconds.
I don't know if I know about the curse.
Okay, I'm glad you told me. So we won't.
Yeah,
we won't go there.
Stand by.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1.
We're back with 360 Info Network. I'm Vince Robinson along with Antonio, and we are talking with Brother Mfundishi Jhutyms. He is in a film called the Hapi film, and you can get that film by going to hapifilm.com. That's HAPIFILM.com. You can find out all that you need to find out about the film, and you can take advantage of an opportunity to see that film. This evening, we have promoted this film on 360 Info Network. As a matter of fact, I believe last weekend we did an interview with Taki Grant, who is one of the producers of that film. So we'll move forward with our conversation. And Brother Mfundishi, you indicated that you will be on a panel regarding this film tonight. Talk to us about the film. You alluded to it a little bit earlier, but talk to us about the film and what it means to black folks in the diaspora and specifically to African Americans here in the United States.
Yes, first I want to tell people they're in for a real cinema photography treat. It's excellent in terms of the cinema photography on how it's presented. There's nothing on national TV that beats this. It's at the top quality. So that's number one. Number two, it deals with ancient Kemet in a way that no other European television station has ever done. It talks about the origin of this is African, it's black, and it comes from the core of Africa. One of the contributions I make to this is that even ancient Kemet, which we call Egypt, was the mouthpiece of the African continent. It would, just to only talk about Egypt would be to only talk about my lips and neglect the rest of my body.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So ancient Kemet was disseminating the information it got from the interior of Africa. So people who came from Central Africa, West Africa, who came from the Sahara, who came from Southern Africa, who flowed down the Hapi River from Eastern Africa, all contributed to what we see in ancient Kemet. And this is what made them rich. They developed the first import-export. They developed this what we call macro economy, all based upon their culture. And it was divine. It was based upon divinity and spirituality. That was also at the center. And so, this film kind of shows that. And it shows you the power that we possessed. And right now, we only have the illusion of being powerless. We're at the bottom of the economic ladder in every country's economic strata.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only because in our minds, we don't remember who we are. There's a picture I saw on the internet. There's an elephant, the largest land animal and the most powerful land animal on earth. And they have a shoestring tied around his leg in a chair. And the elephant can't move. He doesn't move. He thinks he can't go no place. He's been programmed that he can't move. That's African people.
Mm-hmm.
We are that giant elephant, the strongest, most powerful creatures on earth. And Western mindset, the Western paradigm, think that we can't do for ourselves. And we can't be free and do what we want. So this film kind of shows that, yes, we can. Even in the midst of this enslavement, we still are the most ingenious people. Have you ever looked at the list of black inventions in America?
Yes.
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
But yet, we don't manufacture any of those things, and we don't control the distribution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
so.
I'm also.
Go ahead.
I said I think the film kind of speaks to how the culture and politics and and all of that is intertwined. And that's why I speak so much.
Dr. Jeffries does an excellent job of doing that.
Say it again now.
I said Dr. Jeffries does an excellent job in doing that, talking about the culture, the politics, and the economics, how they are all related.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, so we have to understand, we think that it's just white supremacy, like organizations like the Ku Klux Klan, the John Birch Society, Columbus Society, outright. No, it's the American government that's anti-black. America has given more reparations than any nation on the planet right now, but they haven't given it to black people. They've apologized to us. They've admitted to us that they were wrong, but there's no check. Every black black city that was in control of its politics, culture, and economics has been destroyed. And by the government itself. Even this conversation we're having, brother, even the conversation we're having right now would make us black identity extremists, which is against the law. You understand what I'm saying? They can come and arrest me. I'm sitting on a park bench. They can come and arrest me right now. Firearms. Black identity extremists. See, you can have little Chinatown, little Japan, little Italy, Jewtown, but you can't have little Africa. Now you need to analyze that. This film tells us we can, and we need to have. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I believe that if we don't begin to go back home to Africa and begin to develop it and make Africa a good brand again, an excellent brand. See, at one time, Africa was the brand. Everybody wanted to come to Africa because it was the richest place on the continent. It's the richest place on the planet. Now, Europeans they want to come and rape Africa, but they don't want you to come and see it, so they made Africa a bad brand. And we bought their advertisement.
Yep.
We bought it.
Yep. You know what?
We need to go back and make Africa strong.
Right. That's what I say right now. Until we tend to follow them all the time anyway. So you see, if everybody over there trying to carve out as much as they can, we're not even paying no attention to it. At least look at what's going on.
No.
We're not going to pay any attention to it until it's all set up, all bought, all the oceanfront stuff is developed. And then when they put the advertisement on TV, then that's when we gonna come running. It's gonna be too late then.
Yeah, there's an African proverb. It says, "By the time the fools have learned the game, the players have dispersed."
Yes.
So we need to be like right now. Like Ghana has invited us. A couple of other countries, Paul Kagame and Rwanda, has invited Africans in the diaspora. Come home. Your money is worth almost tenfold in Africa. Come and build. Come with ideas. Come to work with the brothers on the continent. See, because they've divided us, now we need to pull us back together.
Brother Mfundishi, I want to jump on what you just mentioned, because I have noticed in the past year that the Europeans have virtually and literally shut down airplane traffic to the continent of Africa in a year following 1 million of us coming back to the continent. Can you talk about that in a couple minutes that we have left? And if you can squeeze it in, also talk to us about the importance of understanding and having awareness of Mdw Ntchr.
Yes. Well, again, they don't want to expose you to the beauty of Africa. It's unfortunate that we don't know the most beautiful places in the world is on the African continent. if they ever saw the Zambezi Falls, if you travel through South Africa, take your breath away. You understand why those whites don't want to get out of there. If you go to Tanzania, you go to Zanzibar, you go Kilimanjaro. I can just go on all this whole show showing you how dynamic. I've been to 28 African countries and to Egypt 30 times. They don't want you to do that because then you will know that they've been lying. Not just telling you that's falsehood. Just out and out lying. And they are trying to grab up as much land as they can. The Chinese are there. They're trying to grab up as much land as they can. And they don't want you there because you're going to make the Africans stronger and Africans will begin to do for themselves. And they don't want you using your own resources because they want to use it. That's why Bill Gates want to kill half of the population. They don't want to share resources that they don't even have. Okay, so now that's that part. When I talk about the Mdw Ntchr, for example, the Mdw Ntchr, the ancient language of Egypt, is our classical language. If we had 5,000 years of known civilization and history before the Greeks, obviously Greek and Latin can't be our classical language. Classic is the best that you have. That's their classical language, copying what they learned from us. The Mdw Ntchr is attached to culture, and the culture is explaining the language, for example, is explaining the culture. And the culture is attached to nature and the divinity of the one. And so it's a spiritual language. It's a language of nature. It puts you in connect with the animal domain, the plant domain, the mineral domain, the human domain, and the spirit domain. No other language does that. Most languages are abstract. Mdw Ntchr is teaching symptomatic thought. Not just symbolic thought. We have symbols, which is symbolic, but it's based upon symptomatic thinking. We can prove everything. Everything is connected to our culture. Everything is connected to nature. So now if you're in an abstract society and an abstract language, an abstract culture, it's almost anti-nature. So your best will be destroying as opposed to building. So that's why I'm a component of the Mdw Ntchr.
Okay. If you want to learn more about this, you can check out this film tonight, the Hapi film, and you can get there by going to hapifilm.com, HAPIFILM.com. You can also check in on Mfundishi Jhutyms by going to his Facebook page. You can go online and Google him. There are videos that will give you an opportunity to learn more about what he's expressing to us today. I'd like to thank you, brother, for joining us on 360 Info Network. And I would also like to thank our listeners for tuning in. And we'd like to encourage you to stay connected. Consider advertising on our program. You can reach out to Brother Stephen E. Boyd at 216-526-1297. That's 216-526-1297. We thank our engineer, Tristan Sanchez, for making everyone audible today. And most of all, we thank you for listening. Check out our Facebook page and check out our website. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make it a great day, Cleveland. Peace.